So next up is Wyatt Toon. Wyatt was part of our 2024 Halloran Lab Venture Showcase. He's part of the winning team. He's a co-founder of Anavo Energy. Welcome, Wyatt, come on up. If you want this.
I do want it.
I know you do.
Of course. Thanks everybody, thanks for coming, and I'm excited to talk about Anavo Energy, which is my project, and our goal is to connect solar installers to quality leads and system blueprinting technology. So before we get into it, I'll just say a little bit about the team. Again, my name is Wyatt Toon. I'm a current junior here at Colby, and I co-founded Anavo back during my freshman year with Yusuf Mustafa, who unfortunately could not make it because he is currently in Prague studying abroad. So I'm sure he would much rather be here. But I figured the way that I'd set up this presentation is I'll take you through sort of a mini pitch of sort of the problems that Anavo hopes to solve, and then afterwards I'll give you an overview of how we spent the last 3 months and some takeaways from that. So first, let's imagine that you're a homeowner who's interested in installing solar panels in your house. Now, the first question that you're naturally going to ask yourself is, what is the best solar panel that I can put on my house? But you don't have a technical background in energy, and you have no idea of how to answer this question. More of these questions start popping up, like what is my exact roof angle, what proportion of my roof faces south, and how many hours of sunlight do I get per day? And as you delve further and further into the process, the number of questions continues to multiply, and after a while you just begin to feel lost. Now let's imagine that you're a solar installer who's marketing to homeowners like this. There's clearly an information barrier, and it's causing you to receive fewer and lower quality leads. Ryan Gehegan is a solar consultant, and he told us that it's a relationship problem, and people just don't see the benefits of renewables. These installers are now having to drive further and further distances just to be able to do their jobs. Ryan Gehegan also told us that oftentimes he uses 2 tanks of gas in a single day just going from site to site. And we had more installer testimonials to back us up on this. Chris Byers is a developer who's been in the industry for over 10 years. And he told us that dealing with ambiguity is the most difficult part of his job, and that people don't know what they're talking about. Andrew Keller is a self-proclaimed green capitalist, is what he told me, and he said that it's frustrating to get information access to solar for residences, for commercial entities, and for industrial ones. Tyler Adkins is a small-scale renewable project manager. He operates almost exclusively in Maine, and he told us that there's definitely a disparity of knowledge between the people, the developers, and the utilities. And then I'll throw in one more Ryan Gehegan quote. He told us that energy prices are super, super complex, and that there is definitely a social and public disconnect. And our solution to these problems is our project Anavo. And using a combination of weather, solar, housing APIs, and other software streams, we generate a complete solar portfolio for the homeowner, and that's coupled with instantaneous installer quotations. And the installers also benefit for this because they get blueprinting and site design technology that help design these solar systems remotely instead of having to get up on roofs and having to do pencil and paper analyses. And they also get verified lead generation, so they get more reliable leads and they get a better capacity to be able to start further projects. And I'll just give you a little quick sneak peek at what our platform actually looks like during the pitch competition in May. There was nothing. We didn't have anything. We were working completely off of market research and a couple of basic mock-ups that we had given to the Halloran Lab mentors, but we didn't have anything developed yet. And I ultimately think this worked to our advantage because it allowed us to focus on the one thing that really matters the most when you're building a business, and that is meeting the unmet need of the customer, which is something Jeremy told me the first time that I met him. And once we had that down, then we were able to sort of generate and formulate a better plan of how we were going to move through the summer and hope from there to create a tangible product that we could sell to people. And the first step of this involved one final round of market research because we had to be sure that both the homeowner and the installer would be willing to pay for our service. And we contacted a variety of solar companies such as National Grid, Maine Solar Solutions, and a myriad of homeowners who told us about their experiences within the solar industry as well as what they might like to see in it coming in the future. And immediately we ran into some conversion issues where we would email 60 or 70 solar installers and we'd receive responses from 2 or 3. And we quickly realized that the best way to leverage market research was to utilize our organic connections, such as our mentors, our friends, people that we knew within the industry, because if they couldn't give us information, then they would be willing to vouch for us and give us contacts that we could get insightful and valuable information from. And for those of you who were at the pitch competition in May, I will address the elephant in the room that we also changed our name quickly after the pitch competition from Modum to Anavo Energy. And if any of you liked the name Modum, then you can feel free to talk to me about it after this presentation. But after we took our insights from our market research and we used them to sort of quantify some features that we thought could competitively differentiate us from existing solar marketplaces such as EnergySage or Solar.com or other platforms like that. And the first thing that I want to mention is a focus on user and homeowner privacy. I personally signed up for a lot of these existing solar marketplaces, and the number one thing that I experienced was calls and emails and contacts from people who I did not know, and I did not give them my permission to use my data. And that obviously made me less inclined to then go and do business with these companies. So Anavo hopes to solve this by giving the homeowner the permission to contact which installers they want and allowing them to have the data security in their hands instead of the wider internet's hands. And this also improves the quality of the leads that the installers do get, because once a homeowner gives permission to be contacted, the installer can know that the homeowner is already interested. Also, a instantaneous lead turnaround time helps with the overall installation speed of a solar installation, and it helps the solar installer be able to capitalize on the purchasing window of the homeowner and generate more projects overall. And lastly, a lot of the existing solar marketplaces don't have any solar imagery, and they don't have any advanced sort of overlays of solar onto a house, and this is often the most important part in knowing what a solar installation will look like. So we hope to have those images overlaid in our marketplace for both the installers and the homeowners. And the most important part of our prototyping process over the summer was the actual development of the technology. And the first thing that I learned from this is that people, or the tech that you develop, is going to change. And everything that you think you are going to use to develop, you probably will not. And a perfect example that I like to use is SAM, or the System Advisory Model. SAM is a government-backed solar database that lets you generate PV systems based on a wide variety of inputs. And the data is very comprehensive, but as you can see in the image, there's a lot of inputs required for one output. And this is also in tandem with over 20 other programs that we needed to standardize just to do one home analysis. So instead, we switched over to doing Google Solar, where we sacrificed some of the comprehensiveness of the data, but we made up for it for flexibility and a better use of our team's time and resources. And with that in mind, this is a current look at what our website looks like. This is completely self-built, self-made, and it serves, in my eyes, as a foundation for future development to come. And this took us about 6 weeks to make. It took a lot of sweat and sometimes tears. And we found that this was crucial for our future development, but that ultimately moving forward, the best option was to hire an outside developer. And so we ended up doing that so we could focus our time and our resources on other part of the company. And what this looks like, the first round of the contracting process, which we began in around mid-July, was formalizing our company information. And this was a lot of logical processes, a lot of Google Doc generation, and other nitty-gritty details that we hadn't necessarily thought about before. And although this allowed for third-party eyes who had never heard of or seen our project before to understand, it also gave us a big capacity to understand where our blind sites were and what we hadn't realized before, and any potential small problems that could have proven bigger in the future. And the next part of this was choosing an agency. The first step of this process was deciding whether to go with a domestic or an international hire and the rates that were associated with that, as well as to pursue an individual freelance contractor or a wider agency. And ultimately, we decided to go with an American-based company called Gun.io. And then the last and lengthiest process of the contracting was actually interviewing and engaging in negotiations. After we settled on working with Gun.io, we interviewed a wide variety of people from different backgrounds, different skill levels from all around the world, and we quickly found that we needed to constrict exactly what we wanted in a contractor. And we ended up having to do second, third, and fourth rounds of interviews, which was much more than we expected. And then after we finally found someone who fit our needs and fit our specifications, we had to engage in a very lengthy price negotiation with them, which we also did not anticipate and was definitely outside of my comfort zone. But the contractor, the developer, is now working. They just started at the end of August, and we hope to have a final MVP out by around 1 month from now, hopefully around mid-October. And overall, I'll just give you some takeaways of what I learned throughout the summer as a new entrepreneur, and maybe some things that other Colby students could learn from. The first, as I said before, is everything is going to take longer than you think. And you're inevitably going to run into problems, and you're going to run into obstacles, and that's not to discourage you, but that is to realize that this is not a smooth process whatsoever. And I just evidenced that with the 8-week contracting that we had to go through. And the second is that your relationships are paramount. Whether it's through market research, or whether it's through industry entrance, or just for mentorship, your relationships that you develop are crucial in order to further sustain and grow your business. Third, this is similar to the first point, pivots are constant. Some are big, some are small, some other people recognize, and some other people do not. But they are constant, and they are always moving forward. And I know that me and Yusuf, we pivoted many, many times over the course of the summer, and ultimately it has proven useful to the end that we're at now. And lastly is realize the moment that you're in, and appreciate where you are, and if it goes no farther than where you are now, then appreciate that you got where you did, and be passionate. I thought I would close out the presentation with some evidence of our passion. The first is Yusuf telling me that if we ended up becoming billionaires, he would run a farm on the side as a hobby, which I thought was pretty funny. And then the second was the time change difference. Yusuf is from Egypt, and I often found myself texting him sure that he would be asleep, and he was not. It was the middle of the night in Egypt, and he was still awake and working on integrating an API into our website. And the third, and my personal favorite, is our conversations with Jeremy, where many different times we would edit a presentation, and Jeremy's feedback was always very useful to us. So I'd like to thank Jeremy specifically. And yeah, that's all, and I would highly recommend you scan these QR codes. Our website is the one on the left, and our mailing list is the one on the right, and just a special thanks to all of the friends and mentors that we have, and any other Anavo supporters. So thank you guys.